And I believe we are live! Good day, my dear fellow friends. My name is Raven Marine, aka Thunburn1, and welcome to another thuncast. Today it is episode 19 of this wonderful journey that we have here. And therefore, with this journey, we have a new guest upon. And I believe that this is someone that you'll enjoy. He is a man who runs the IOM community. A man whose firm grip is able to
I don't
lead
run the
armies.
IOM community.
Oh, thank you. Who's able
That's
to...
Buffett's job.
All right. He's able to run lead us to victory. I give you the man, the myth himself, Clone. Do tell me, Clone.
Hello.
How was your day?
Largely uneventful. Not bad.
Ah, that is wonderful. You know, a lot of people have been asking that I should do you on top of the thuncast. So therefore, do tell me, how do you feel that you're going to be able to give us your own opinion about the Chaldea experience?
Yeah.
That's
I mean...
Sorry.
There's only so much I could share. I'm pretty involved in updates, right? And I don't want to spoil anything.
And that is understandable.
So, yeah.
Alright, are you prepared to answer the 6 questions that will be bestowed to you?
Yep.
Wonderful. Alright, first question. How did you find the IOM community?
How did I find it? So a couple years ago, this was 2020, I was in a group called TNI. I mean, I was in it up until more recently, but I was in it as well at the time. And I was running the Royal Guard division there, and someone who was a veteran in it, who was also in IOM, named Curzone, who was either a Custodes or a Sanguinary Guard. I can't recall which. Either way, he was in IOM, and he wanted me to join it in order to help him set straight the Blood Angels at the time, which were facing some difficulties. So I temporarily joined in 2020 or so. I didn't end up staying for very long because I was busy with other stuff, and I didn't have the time or energy to commit to multiple projects. So I ended up leaving it after spending maybe a month or two with the group. But I didn't forget about it, and a couple years later, so late 2020, I want to say October, September, thereabouts, I ended up rejoining it because I was looking to join another group, and I had more time on my hands. And I joined shortly before the release of Chaldea, actually. So my understanding of the timeline is actually not that long after I originally left. The group went on a sort of hiatus that led up to the release of Chaldea, and I ended up joining by happy coincidence right towards the end of that hiatus. So I was around to see Chaldea get launched, and I've been part of the Imperium since.
Fascinating. A man such as yourself had to make plenty of sacrifices, but with that one majority of that little sacrifice, you were able to show your full dedication and try to help out. But after you had to leave so you could deal with other sort of stuff, you gradually came back, if I'm hearing this correct, and just stayed around for a little while?
Yes, there's a lot to get into. I mean, the long and short of it is, when I joined in October, I wasn't sure if I was going to stick around, but the community, largely the developers actually, I give a lot of credit to Mott, and B, who both took the time to talk to me and convince me to stay. Because I've been involved in clans for 14 years now. Approaching 14 years now. So I've dealt with a lot of developers. And I'll be super honest, most of them are very difficult. Particularly in for-profit organizations, which this Imperium is not, incidentally. Big part of the reason I stayed is because the developers here actually give a shit about the game. They are passionate. They work hard. They care about the end product. Whereas past projects that I've been on, the developers have openly shown disdain for the people who play the game, or they say it's not a good game and they don't like it and they don't care about it and they're just there for their paycheck. So that difference in mindset is a lot of why I stayed and why I continue to stay.
Fascinating. Did you have any regrets when you decided to come here?
No. Short answer, but I wasn't 100% sure about it when because I resigned from my other positions outside of this group in order to focus more time on it, which was a fairly large commitment. I had been the head of TNI's Royal Guard for 5 years, so I set that aside for this. But I have not regretted it since. I'm glad I did it. The Royal Guard's doing fine without me. I had set it up for success. My successor's doing a good job. So overall, do I regret it? No. I've had a lot of fun here. I foresee many more years of fun. I don't see any issue.
That is very well said, clone. Even though that you were here before me, you lived a... Well, actually, no, I'm not even is gonna say you lived. You're still living a full-on formidable life here, and still doing wonders for the community, even though that you're not in the position as you are now. In this case, from what I'm trying to say, is that we are grateful to have you here. Because the thing is, many of us had seen you as an inspiration, a clear leader who truly understood everything, and therefore that's what got me back into my leadership roots as a Templar.
It's largely experience. Like I said, I've been doing this sort of thing for, over a decade. I've been in a leadership position on games like this longer than some of our members have been alive, which is scary to think about. But also, it just is what it is. There's a lot that goes into leadership, broadly speaking. But the sort of broad notes of it are very simple, I think. So I try to teach people so that, ideally, for example, currently I'm in charge of the Militarum Tempestus. Whenever I do end up leaving that organization, whether that's to move to something else, somewhere else within the Imperium, whatever, my goal is to leave it in such a position that it will continue to operate at least at the same capacity as before I left, if not be able to improve. I don't think I'm a perfect leader, despite my experience. And I don't think that it is unfair to say that groups could benefit from experience that isn't my own. So that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is accepting other people's perception, and I include myself in that, by the way. As much as I try to be cognizant of it, it's a simple fact of human nature that we don't like accepting other people's perspective. But it is important to being good at building a lasting foundation.
Very well said, clone. You know your flaws when you turn to fix it. Truly, I'm really impressed that you have plenty of stuff to say here. Anyways, First question, very well said, and very well said. Second question, what was your journey like in the IOM community?
What was my journey like? Fast, I think. And that is not coincidental. I have mentioned I have a lot of experience. I know what I'm doing. It gets noticed. I tend to progress quickly in groups. That's not unique to IOM. But I had originally, when I joined, wanted to become a grenadier. I accomplished that within maybe a month. Um, Within 2 months, I was de facto head of the Militarum Tempestus, although that was because of outstanding circumstances. So I was effectively running an entire subdivision quite quickly, um, which is a lot to get used to, but it's not anything I haven't done before. So if it had to happen to anyone, I suppose it's good that it happened to me. Yeah.
Hmm. So beyond everything else, you climbed up the ranks very fast and able to go through lots of trials and tribulations pretty quickly. So you can basically correct some of the stuff that, I don't know, the IOM community had forgotten to fix or forgotten to tell. Either way, you basically committed a great, not say sacrifice, but a great thing for the community to allow us to understand what this place is.
Yeah. I certainly try to um, keep a presence in the community, not just in the Imperial of Man, but across the Dark Millennium genre. I think most people who are active in the community are pretty familiar with me. I get along with most everyone, which is not by mistake. I try to be friendly with people. Sometimes I get frustrated. I'm human, but community is important, especially in this sort of genre. I've been in similarly structured genres before where multiple factions exist within a broader genre, and if the community is outwardly hostile, it makes it an incredibly uncomfortable space to exist in. Um, and Game of Thrones would be a pretty good example. I was in Farius Eagle's Game of Thrones. Can't recommend it. I mean, I think it shut down recently, actually, because of the lack of respect and generally toxic atmosphere. But to give you an idea of just how awful it was, I think everyone hated each other in that group, and their motivation for fighting wars with each other and stuff was purely to spite one another, and that's the exact opposite of what I have tried to help foster in the Dark Millennium, and largely that's been successful. Obviously, not everyone is going to like each other. There's just nothing you can do about that. But broadly speaking, uh, Gene Stealers and Imperials and Chaos and Necrons and Eldar and all of them can speak to each other and not tear each other's heads off, and they can just talk about anything, even off-topic things, and that's good. That is important. That is a very underrated but critical part of running a group like this. Because realistically, if the community was at each other's throats, everything could just fall apart. And there's nothing that any amount of individual leadership can do to fix that. That is something that has to be done on a larger scale, handled interpersonally between all genre staff, between all genre officers. So it's something that I encourage people to be cognizant of and cautious about, is that you are respectful and understanding of other people's positions, that you try not to demonize them, because again, it's human nature. We other people. It's what we do when we refer to a group, and I do it too. Again, I'm not trying to make myself seem like I'm better. I have a bad habit of saying, "Oh, the Eldar are complainers." It's not. That's not fair. There are some people within the Eldar who complain a lot. That doesn't mean the Eldar are complainers. That's a failing of mine and something that I have to acknowledge when I'm trying to, for example, work on balance. I can't make a knee-jerk reaction based on that perspective. So that's the sort of thing that a lot of things are interconnected in ways that people don't really understand, especially with how we think we make connections. And trying to eliminate any biases you can is important when it comes to development. But I've gone on a long enough tangent now. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, it's fine. You were able to at least give a lot of stuff between the right and wrong of other factions, plus provide guaranteed information of what it really means to be yourself, or just correcting the rights and wrongs within yourself. You're basically doing something here that's nobody's able to actually have, and therefore the commitment, the sure fist that is capable of holding on to that mere sword and you're able to swing it that far. It's just truly fascinating. And being in metaphorical wise, you basically know how to. Dang it. I forgot the metaphor that I was trying to prove. Okay, the point is that you basically have a firm grip on the group that you're trying to at least not say make perfect, but well, there in a way. But, dude, this is really just fascinating to hear from you, Chloe. However, second question, very well said. Third question, what is your position like in the IOM community?
I can't speak too much to that because of recent events. I can speak to my position as Lord Tempester, though. So, I mentioned that I had become Lord Tempester because of outstanding circumstances. To make a long story short, the person in charge of the Militarum Tempestus before me had to be removed. He was causing issues, so he was removed. There wasn't really anyone in a position to follow up. I was only, I think, like a grenadier veteran at the time. I wasn't particularly intended to move into an officer position just yet, but I moved to, I want to say commissar cadet for a few weeks. And honestly, not too much has changed since then, largely because even though I was a commissar cadet and I'm now a colonel in the Lord Tempester, I was still doing the same job. Largely what my job is managing the multiple aspects of the Militarum Tempestus. It is a system comprised of multiple squads. So the Grenadier squad, the Kasrkin squad, the Tempester squad, the Ogren squad, and the Commissariat are sort of the five main branches of the Militarum Tempestus. I need to try and make sure that all of them are healthy. I need to balance that against not over-recruiting from the Astra Militarum because I don't want to harm Astra Militarum activity. So I need to recruit enough that they are in a good position, but not too much. I can't just take as much as I want. That's something that I do in the form of regular conversations with Bophides, where we essentially negotiate how many people I take every week. And then I also act in a sort of advisory position to the Dark Angels. I don't choose who gets made a Dark Angel, but I offer them suggestions. I give them ideas based upon who I think is fit, who I think is close to fit, for what reasons. I give them a list of names, I give them my thoughts on the individual, and then they, from there, will observe that individual, they will decide what they think, and they might think, oh, he's not there yet, but we'll give him a week. They might think, oh, we'll take him in and we'll train him. It's a whole process, but so what that means is I'm also balancing against Dark Angels taking people. So it's a very careful seesaw to keep the Minotaur Tempestus where it has to be. But so far, I think I've been quite successful. My broad goal is that there should be around 10 Tempesters, there should be around 15 Grenadiers and 15 Kasrkin, and maybe around 10 Ogren. That would be perfect. Ogren has tended to be the one that is the smallest. I think we have around 5 right now. And that's not a huge deal. That's okay. As far as any of them goes, if any of them had to be on the small side, I would pick Ogren, so that's fine. But also a large part of what I do is learning where people want to be and helping them get there. Because it's difficult. It's hard because I can't promise anyone that they can get anything, right? It's not realistic to say, oh, I can make you a Dark Angel, or oh, you'll get Custodes, no problem. That's not realistic. Not everyone is going to be a Dark Angel because it is a small group size with a high barrier for entry. What I do say is, anyone has the potential, right? I can't make anything happen, but I can give you the tools, I can give you the information, and you can make something happen. Because anyone who is willing to put in the requisite effort and time is able to achieve what they want. Anyone who says, oh, I can't become a Dark Angel, well, you're probably right, because you've already given up. But people who are willing to take on board criticism, who are willing to take on board ideas, who are willing to put in the effort to improve on the areas where they are lacking, or who are simply willing to put in the time, because there is certainly an expected time commitment in groups like this, can achieve great things. So I try and learn what people want to be and do my best to help them get there. I can't make anything happen, I'm not a wizard. But I've been largely quite successful. Obviously, the Dark Angels has been growing fairly rapidly. The Militarum Tempestus has been growing quite rapidly as well. The Astro Militarum has been growing quite rapidly. In all aspects, the Imperium of Man is doing quite well. So, the only thing I would say we really need is more officers. So if you're listening and you think, oh, I don't know if I want to be an NCO, if you think you can do it, go for it. We're happy to have more.
Truly, beyond everything I heard you said was inspirational all by itself. And it really reminded me of the days when I was merely but a grenadier, where you told me that my dreams could be attained by the sheer will and pursuit within the goals of the group itself. Tell me, Clone, do you still abide by the dream concept of the IOM community? For what you would want to be seek, for what you want to be that main character of the sort?
I've never considered myself any sort of main character. No. I generally consider myself to be a support for people, I think. I try to help people achieve what they want to be. I get a lot of gratification and I guess generally I'm quite happy with the idea that I've helped people achieve what they want. So that's largely what I try to do. Obviously, I have my own goals, and I'm working towards them. But I think, but I could consider myself a main character. No, I would be very satisfied to be in a more supporting role. But for example, I would never want to be in Buffett's position. I would not want to be Lord Commander Militum. That is something that I have outright said I do not want. So, yeah, I don't want that sort of top level leadership. I've done it before. I've been there. I'm not interested in it.
Hmm. Very well said, Clown. Very well said. Fourth question. Actually, wait, sorry. Third question. Very well said. So, fourth question. What are you going to do in the near future in the IOM community?
Um, I have to.
Oh, and let me just refer this real quick. I'm not going to be talking about the promotion that you have obtained about weeks prior. You could just simply actually.
Right.
Would you like to dodge this question in general since you're not allowed to talk about it?
Um, I will talk about something else that is related.
All right, go ahead.
Right now my focus largely is on the next update for Caldega. Obviously, I can't give any specific details, but it is a fairly comprehensive overhaul that will be including new weapons, a fairly large map facelift, some new systems, updates to existing weapons in order to make them more, honestly, balanced. But balance is a tricky thing, right? Because obviously we have an asymmetric balance system, and what that means is not all of our weapons are the same. A bolter is not a Gauss blaster, is not a las rifle, is not a shuriken catapult. So obviously it would be easier to balance if we just made everything do the same, but that would suck. I think most people agree. Um, that would be really shitty to play. So what we do instead is we try and make it so that every faction has an answer to what other factions have to play. Every class has a niche to fulfill that it's good at, and every weapon has a reason to be picked. That's the way that I try to balance it. I can talk in broad sort of terms to say, for example, that one thing we've done in the new update is make it so that weapons from certain Forge worlds share certain attributes. So, Akatran weapons, for example, shoot faster and do less damage per shot than Lucius pattern weapons. The idea there being that when you pick a weapon, you've got an idea based on its name of what it does. This will also allow people who prefer a specific niche to know what weapon to select in order to fill that niche. If you like marksman weapons, you go with X. If you like assault weapons, you go with Y. Another broad aspect of balancing that we've touched on is melee. We want to make melee more satisfying. Right now, if you have access to a power axe, there's no reason not to use it because it's just better than everything else. That is bad. So what we're doing instead is breaking melee down into categories. So chain weapons, for example, chain axes, chain swords, they inflict bleed and have higher lifesteal, but lower base damage. Power weapons, power swords, power axes, thunder hammers, lightning claws, witch blades, that sort of thing, do not inflict bleed, but do higher base damage. Then, the weapon type is also taken into account alongside the category. So, swords are better at parrying now because they're dueling weapons. Axes swing faster. I'm only giving those two examples, but you get the idea. We've also overhauled their stats across the board to make them feel better and be brought into rougher parody while also exemplifying their niche. And then the last big category that I've been really pushing for, is area of effect weapons, which I don't think is controversial to say are not very popular right now in Caldega, or inversely, are extremely popular if you're the one using them. The Force Staff comes to mind. My friend Madigan refers to it as a to whom it may concern weapon, because you don't really need to aim, you just need to address your shot to whom it may concern, and you'll hit them. It's a common complaint that the Force Staff is too strong and has too big of an AoE, and I agree. That is a microcosm of the greater issue that AoE weapons have too much area of effect and too much damage. So I am reining both of those in. Carefully, mind you, I'm not making any of them useless. Weapons that are getting a much smaller AoE will probably be getting more damage to compensate. Missile launcher comes to mind. Missile launchers will be very effective anti-armor weapons, but they're not going to be nuking people from 5 miles away. Whereas weapons with larger area of effects will be rarer and more limited. Things like plasma cannons, right? The sort of things that require a great big setup, and you have to be a big target. So that's the 3 sort of main avenues of balance that we've been pursuing. And I don't want to give the impression that I'm the one doing all this, right? We have a team. Araki is invaluable. We just added a bunch of new people as well. And we couldn't do it without Zach as well, for example, who, bless his heart. He's willing to put up with us messaging him at all hours, basically saying, hey, we found this weird issue with this weird gun, can you fix it? And, we wouldn't get anything done without him. So make sure you thank him if you get this far on the podcast, because he deserves it.
And also a fair thanks to almost every developer, every staff member, and every person here. They're able to make their pure dedication by serving on the field of battle, working and tinkering within the game, and also purely keeping the ranks in order and intact. My dear fellow clone, you were able to at least give us a full sight and a full opinion on what Caldega is, and so far we haven't even gotten to the rest of the 2 questions left. Truly, like I said, before, you are a true inspiration in disguise. However, fourth question, very well said. 5th question, what do you think of the IOM community as a whole?
I touched on that earlier, but I am quite pleased with the community. I think we are doing a good job in being open and accepting and not fostering hostility between factions, for example. So, yes, I have broadly positive feelings towards the IOM community.
That is very well said. Hey, but wait a minute. You said before that you were part of a different group of not Warhammer 40k genre. What did you think of the 40k genre in general once you joined it?
Well, this has been my only experience with the 40k genre. I haven't been in any other 40k groups. So, that also, broadly speaking, changes depending on when you mean when I joined it. If you're referring to when I joined in 2020, I wasn't particularly impressed. At the time, I was basically brought in to solve a bunch of problems, which very much affects your perception of a group. If you are brought in and being told, things are bad and we need you to fix it, you're not going to have a great opinion going in. So, my first time I joined, I was not particularly enjoying myself, but it's because I was more work than I was enjoying, having fun, When I joined in 2022, that was quite different. I rather enjoyed my time, especially when Caldega opened. I really liked playing the PvE with the Tyranids. I'm sad that they're gone. I know I'm in the minority. I know most people didn't like them. I liked them. I'm sad that they're gone. I wish they were back, but it's whatever. It is what it is. I'm sure we'll make some sort of other PvE game down the road. I mean, we've got Jiro, but that's pretty small scale. I'd like something bigger. I'd like something meatier. I have ideas for that, but obviously development doesn't have time for that right now. Understandably, I wouldn't want to distract them with a side project like that. So, but yeah, getting back on topic. In 2022, when I joined, going into 2023, my opinion was a lot different. I mean, I was really impressed with Boff, and I still am, honestly. He is a really good Lord Commander Militant, and I don't know that we would be doing anywhere near as well without him. So, all due credit to him. Probably another big reason why I'm still here today. So, yeah.
Very well said, my dear friend Clone. Truly answering all the questions the best way you can, and you're still doing it now and today. Fifth question, very well said. And I really actually forgot to say this. Do mind if I have to say this just so I can, have this winning streak of the sort. This video is not going to be edited in any sort of way in order to capture the funny and the interesting moments of the thuncast. So without further ado, let's continue. Final question. What is the one thing that you would want in the IOM community? Now do note that this one thing actually has to be one thing within the Warhammer 40k universe. So do decide. You may never know when any developer is actually listening to this.
Paraconi Warhawks.
You actually want the Warhawks?
Yeah. Let me be specific, though. I want them to be implemented correctly. And by this, I mean I don't want them to have jump packs. They do not have jump packs. They have grav chutes. Those are parachutes. They should require a Valkyrie to be in the air. They should just be able to fall slowly. I think that sort of combined air operation would be cool as fuck. So, Paraconi Warhawks. That's my answer.
Ooh, well, you hear that, developers. Let us see if they may take it into mind. However, Clone, you were able to answer all 6 questions very well. And not only that, you by far out of every person, and not criticizing anyone by the way, were able to at least give a full proper opinion on what Caldega is and what Caldega meant to be. Truly, I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
I don't know, I had my doubts, but I just only wish that you could have stayed with us a little bit longer. You still are, but on a more greater power.
Well, we'll see.
I truly would wanted to say this if our mics weren't muted, but I truly congratulate you upon your journey. You had made this community one of the best things. You were actually able to at least make it, for once a crumbled community, into one that is thriving, one that is allowing people to follow their dreams, one that is able to give inspiration and allowing us to, start over. In this case, we truly have you to thank. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for the honor that you've given some of us. And thank you for the pride that you have bestowed among many, many of the trial leaders who's trying to reach up to your position.
I do what I can.
And one more thank you. Thank you for bringing me back to my roots. I truly had lost it. The one day where I decided to go and see what this group was all about, and that one event where you told me to shut the hell up, Alright, well, okay, that was a funny moment. I was actually able to straighten myself up. Finally realize what my Templar days finally meant to be. Obtain my goals. I have you to thank.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
However, we are at least 40 minutes in. Truly past the limit, but every bit of the thuncast was worth it with you on it. Thank you, Cologne,
Thanks.
for being part of the thuncast.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything? Oh, wait, one more thing. May I just ask one thing that's going to be added, and I'm just going to make a random guess, and if that guess is somehow correct, you're going to answer it. May I?
You can ask. I can't promise I'll tell anything.
All right. What are there going to be vehicles or people who need? Oh, wait, sorry. Does the dev team need help with vehicles?
Dev team needs help with all sorts of things. If you know people who are good with vehicles, you should direct them to Algol or Mott. Or Nub Nub, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, we're working on a lot of things. Vehicles are something we've considered that may or may not get worked on. But if you know someone who has experience with that, then feel free to send them our way.
oh, do not worry. He has already been part of the thuncast before. I shall give him the fear of thanks and also the message that you were able to relay. Truly, thank you.
Who was it?
Also, do you have any final words for the thuncast and for the viewers and the guest?
I guess just generally speaking, you should pursue your goals. You might get them. You never know. When I joined, I was told it was by Pollock, funny enough, that it was worthless to go for custodies because no one would ever get it in my time here. And well, I'm not guaranteed anything yet, but we'll see.
Very, very well said. You all have, my dear fellow friends, you all have a wonderful day and enjoy yourself. Have fun with the community and truly have fun listening from back to front of this wonderful Suncast with Clone. Truly, you all have a wonderful day and farewell. Log end.